Have you ever felt like the world is just too much to handle? Like everything that happens around you impacts your peace of mind? What if I told you that there's a way to act as if nothing affects you, and in doing so, watch your entire life change? In today's video, we're diving deep into a concept that has been embraced by some of the most resilient minds throughout history: Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to accept the rest with calmness and clarity. But what does this really mean for us in the chaos of modern life? We all face challenges: stress, pressure, expectations from society and those around us. It can sometimes feel like the weight of it all is just too much to bear. But what if the secret to overcoming these challenges isn't in changing the world around you, but in changing how you respond to it? By the end of this video, you'll understand how adopting Stoic principles can help you stay unshaken, no matter what happens in your life. You'll discover simple yet powerful tools that can transform how you approach stress, conflict, and even failure. I'm Miguel, and I've spent years exploring powerful philosophies that can truly transform the way we live and interact with the world. Stick with me, because in just a few minutes, you'll learn a trick that can completely alter your perspective and help you live with a peace that no external force can shake. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the final piece of advice will leave you with something to think about for a long time. Stoicism, the ancient Greek philosophy, often feels like an abstract concept, something that's difficult to apply in our hectic modern lives. But in reality, Stoicism is one of the most practical and transformative ways to approach the challenges of everyday life. It teaches us that while we can't control what happens to us, we always have control over how we respond. The central idea of Stoicism is simple. We cannot control external events, but we can control our reactions to them. This is called the dichotomy of control, a fundamental Stoic concept introduced by the philosopher Epictetus. According to Epictetus, if we focus on controlling what's within our power, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and accept with serenity everything outside our control, we can achieve true peace and freedom. Take a moment to think about it. When you feel frustrated by traffic, irritated by a rude comment, or anxious about the future, what are you really upset about? In these moments, it's easy to believe that the external event, the traffic, the rude comment, or the uncertainty of the future, is what's causing your stress. But according to Stoicism, it's not the event itself that affects us, it's how we react to it. For example, imagine you're stuck in traffic. If you get angry, tense up, and start thinking about all the things you're missing out on, the traffic has control over you. But if you acknowledge that the situation is beyond your control, breathe deeply and focus on something within your control, perhaps listening to an audiobook or simply accepting the delay as part of life, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. This idea doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or ignore challenges. Instead, Stoicism encourages us to face life's difficulties with calmness, mindfulness, and resilience. The goal is not to be emotionless, but to understand that we don't need to be slaves to our emotions. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity. It teaches us that our peace of mind doesn't have to depend on the world around us. Instead, it comes from within, from how we choose to perceive and react to the world. This philosophy has been practiced by many great leaders, thinkers, and warriors throughout history, including Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, who used Stoicism to lead a vast empire with wisdom and humility. His personal writings, later known as meditations, offer insight into how Stoic principles helped him navigate the complexities of his life with inner peace. One of Marcus Aurelius's most famous reflections is this: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the essence of Stoic thought. We've all faced adversity at some point in our lives. Whether it's a personal loss, a financial setback, or an unexpected challenge, it can feel like the weight of the world is bearing down on us. In those moments, it's easy to feel helpless or even hopeless. But here's the secret. Adversity doesn't have to break us. In fact, it can make us stronger. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, it's about how we respond to it. And that's where Stoicism offers a powerful tool. Stoicism teaches us that hardships are a natural part of life, but it's our reactions to them that determine whether we rise or fall. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the idea that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. This is crucial when it comes to resilience. When something difficult happens, instead of reacting with anger, fear, or frustration, we can choose to respond with acceptance, reflection, and action. Let's break down the steps of resilience using Stoic principles. 1. Acceptance. The first step in building resilience is acceptance. When faced with adversity, many people resist or deny what's happening. But this resistance only prolongs our suffering. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Instead of resisting, the Stoic approach is to accept that things are not always going to go your way. When you stop fighting the circumstances, you free yourself to deal with the reality of the situation. 2. Reframing. The next step in developing resilience is reframing the situation. Stoics believe that we should view challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. This mindset shift can have a profound impact on how we handle adversity. For instance, losing a job may seem devastating at first, but it could be an opportunity to reassess your career goals, learn new skills, or even pursue a passion you've put off for years. By reframing the situation, you can transform what feels like a setback into a stepping stone for progress. 3. Taking action. Resilience also involves taking action. This is where Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control. After accepting the situation and reframing it, the next step is to take deliberate action. Whether it's updating your resume, seeking support from friends and family, or learning how to cope with loss, the Stoic approach encourages you to take proactive steps rather than dwelling on the problem. By focusing on what you can do in the present moment, you empower yourself to navigate adversity with confidence and clarity. The power of resilience is not just about bouncing back. It's about growing through the challenges. It's about using life's difficulties as a way to sharpen your character and improve your inner strength. Think about the most resilient people you know. They aren't necessarily immune to hardships. Rather, they face them with determination, courage, and an unwavering belief in their ability to overcome. A powerful example of this Stoic resilience comes from the life of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl writes about his experiences in the concentration camps and how he used his mind to find meaning and purpose, even in the darkest of circumstances. Frankl discovered that while he couldn't control his environment, he could control his attitude and his response to the horrors around him. His ability to find meaning in suffering helped him survive and eventually thrive. The lesson here is clear. Resilience is not something we're born with. It's a skill that can be developed. Through acceptance, reframing, and action, we can cultivate resilience and emerge from adversity stronger and wiser. One of the most powerful lessons Stoicism offers is the idea that we are not controlled by our emotions. Instead, we have the ability to observe and manage them. In a world that often encourages us to react impulsively to everything that triggers us, Stoicism asks us to pause and reflect. It teaches us that emotions themselves are not inherently bad. It's our attachment to them that causes suffering. Emotions like anger, fear, sadness, and even joy are natural human responses to external events. However, Stoics argue that while we cannot always control the emotions that arise within us, we can control how we respond to them. It's the distinction between feeling an emotion and letting that emotion dictate our actions. Take, for example, a situation where you feel angry because someone cut in front of you in line. It's easy to react impulsively, to snap at the person, or to stew in resentment. But as the Stoics teach, the key is in how you respond. Rather than acting on the anger, the Stoic would pause and ask, is this anger really useful? What good will come from it? When you detach yourself from the emotional reaction, you can see that the event itself doesn't have to define your mood or your actions. This process of detachment doesn't mean you suppress or ignore your emotions. It means you choose not to be ruled by them. Here's how you can practice this. 1. Identify the emotion. The first step is simply to recognize the emotion. It sounds simple, but it's often the hardest part. Many of us react so quickly to emotions that we don't even realize we're feeling them. Whether it's anger, frustration, jealousy, or anxiety, the key is to acknowledge the emotion without judgment. Simply saying, "I'm feeling angry right now," is a powerful way to take the first step toward detachment. 2. Understand the source. Once you've identified the emotion, the next step is to understand where it's coming from. Is the anger truly about the person cutting in line, or is it a reflection of something deeper? Stoicism teaches us to dig beneath the surface of our emotions and look for the root cause. Is it fear, insecurity, unmet expectations? When we understand the source, we gain power over the emotion because we realize it's not an automatic, uncontrollable reaction. It's something we can examine and address. 3. Shift the perspective. Once we understand the source, the next step is to shift our perspective. The Stoics believed in using reason to counter irrational emotional responses. Instead of letting the anger dictate your actions, you ask yourself, does this really matter? Is this moment worth losing my peace of mind over? More often than not, the answer is no. By shifting your perspective, you take the emotional power away from the situation and regain control. 4. Let it go. The final step in managing emotions is letting go. This doesn't mean repressing or pretending the emotion doesn't exist. It means accepting it, acknowledging it, and then deciding to release it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When we hold on to our emotions, we often continue to suffer long after the event has passed. By choosing to let go, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional burden. An important point to remember is that detaching from emotions is not about becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages us to cultivate compassion, empathy, and love. But it teaches us that these positive emotions, as well as the negative ones, should not control us. Instead, we should control how we respond to them, using our rational mind to guide our actions. For example, let's say someone close to you says something hurtful. It's natural to feel hurt, but if you react with bitterness or anger, you're allowing that person's words to control your emotional state. A Stoic response would be to acknowledge the hurt, but then ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I choose a more thoughtful, measured response? By doing so, you maintain control over your emotional landscape and prevent others from having the power to dictate your mood or actions. One of the key principles of Stoicism is that we must act with purpose and reason, especially when under pressure. In a world that often pushes us to react impulsively to everything from a stressful job to a personal conflict, Stoicism teaches us to make decisions with calm deliberation rather than allowing our emotions to dictate our actions. When we're faced with a challenging or high-pressure situation, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting without thinking. We might act out of anger, fear, or frustration, which often leads to poor decisions and regret. But what if, instead of reacting automatically, we took a step back and approached the situation with Stoic clarity? The Stoic approach to action is not about avoiding difficult decisions or suppressing emotions. It's about taking a moment to reflect on the situation, focusing on what's under our control, and acting in a way that aligns with our values and principles. Let's break down how to implement this approach in real-life situations. 1. Pause and breathe. The first step in making conscious decisions under pressure is to create space between the stimulus, the difficult situation, and your response. In the heat of the moment, our first impulse is often to act immediately, but Stoicism teaches us to take a breath. This pause allows us to separate ourselves from the emotional rush and think more clearly. One simple technique is to breathe deeply for a few seconds. This gives your mind a moment to slow down and refocus, rather than jumping into an automatic response. It's the equivalent of giving yourself the mental space to assess the situation with a calm mind. 2. Evaluate what's within your control. Once you've taken a pause, the next step is to assess the situation. Stoics often ask themselves, what's in my control here? In any situation, there are things you can control, your thoughts, actions, and attitudes, and things you can't, other people's actions, external circumstances, or past events. For example, if you're dealing with a challenging project at work, you can't control the deadlines or the expectations others have of you, but you can control how you approach the project, your work ethic, and your mindset. By focusing on what's within your control, you take the pressure off yourself and regain a sense of empowerment. 3. Act with purpose and integrity. The next step is to make a decision based on your values and principles. Stoicism encourages us to act in accordance with our highest ideals rather than simply reacting to what's happening around us. Ask yourself, what's the right thing to do here? What action aligns with my core values? For instance, imagine you're in a conflict with a colleague. Rather than reacting with anger or defensiveness, the Stoic approach would be to choose a response that reflects respect, understanding, and fairness. Even if your colleague's behavior isn't ideal, you have the power to act in a way that maintains your integrity. 4. Embrace the outcome, whatever it may be. After you've taken thoughtful, purposeful action, the final Stoic step is to accept the outcome, no matter what it is. One of the most powerful aspects of Stoic philosophy is that it teaches us to be indifferent to the results of our actions. This doesn't mean we don't care about the outcome, but rather that we understand the limits of our control. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Roman emperor, often reminded himself that the results of his actions were not entirely within his control, and that he should focus instead on the quality of his choices. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This mindset frees us from the pressure to achieve a specific result and allows us to embrace whatever comes with grace and composure. By practicing these steps, pausing, evaluating what's within your control, acting with purpose, and embracing the outcome, you can make decisions that reflect your true self regardless of the pressure or external challenges you face. While Stoicism is often associated with personal resilience and inner peace, one of its most profound applications is in our relationships with others. In a world where misunderstandings, conflict, and emotional outbursts are common, Stoicism provides powerful tools for cultivating healthier, more harmonious relationships. The core principle of Stoicism in the context of relationships is that we cannot control other people's actions or reactions. However, we can control how we respond to them. By adopting a Stoic mindset, we can transform our interactions with others, fostering mutual respect, empathy, and understanding. Here are a few key Stoic principles that can help improve your relationships. 1. Respond, don't react. One of the most challenging aspects of relationships is managing our emotional reactions. When someone says something hurtful, it's easy to react impulsively, whether with anger, defensiveness, or hurt. But the Stoic response is to pause and respond rather than react. For example, if a friend or colleague insults you, the immediate emotional response might be to defend yourself or lash out. However, a Stoic would take a moment to breathe and consider the situation. What's really happening here? Instead of reacting out of hurt or frustration, a Stoic would choose a thoughtful, measured response. They might calmly explain how the comment made them feel, or simply choose not to take it personally, understanding that the insult says more about the other person than it does about them. 2. Cultivate empathy and understanding. Stoicism encourages us to see the world through others' eyes. Empathy is not just about understanding how others feel, but also recognizing that everyone has their own struggles, fears, and challenges. By practicing empathy, we're less likely to take things personally and more likely to respond with compassion. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, reminds us in his meditations to consider that everything is an opinion and that the whole thing is a matter of judgment. By acknowledging that others' actions and opinions are shaped by their own unique experiences, we can respond to them with more understanding and less judgment. When we approach others with empathy, we can better navigate disagreements and conflicts. knowing that both parties are coming from their own perspectives. Instead of getting caught up in our own emotions, we can focus on understanding where the other person is coming from and find a way to meet them in the middle. 3. Let go of expectations. A common source of disappointment in relationships is unrealistic expectations. We often expect others to behave in a certain way, and when they don't meet those expectations, we feel hurt or let down. Stoicism teaches us to let go of these expectations and accept people as they are. This doesn't mean we tolerate toxic behavior or allow people to treat us poorly. Rather, it means we recognize that we can't control other people's actions, and we choose to accept them as they are. By letting go of expectations, we free ourselves from frustration and disappointment, allowing us to approach our relationships with greater openness and acceptance. Focus on what you can control. As with many aspects of life, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control. In relationships, this means that we can't control how others behave, but we can control how we choose to respond to them. We can control the way we communicate, the way we listen, and the way we treat others. By focusing on what we can control, we avoid the trap of trying to change or fix other people. Instead, we focus on being the best version of ourselves in every interaction, knowing that this will inspire the same in others. 5. Practice. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a key aspect of Stoic practice, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. Holding on to grudges or resentment only causes emotional harm, which is why Stoicism teaches us to forgive quickly and completely. The Stoics believed that forgiveness is a way to free ourselves from the burden of anger and disappointment, allowing us to move forward with peace. It's important to remember that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. Instead, it means choosing to let go of the negative emotions attached to that behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment so that you can live with a clear heart and mind. By embracing these Stoic principles, responding thoughtfully, cultivating empathy, letting go of expectations, focusing on what we can control, and practicing forgiveness, we can transform our relationships and create deeper, more meaningful connections with others. Implementing Stoicism in your daily life is not about adopting a rigid set of rules. It's about integrating its principles into your actions, decisions, and mindset every day. Stoicism is a practice, not just a philosophy you read about or discuss. It's about making a conscious effort to live in alignment with your values, regardless of external circumstances. The beauty of Stoicism is that it's adaptable to any situation. Whether you're facing personal challenges, professional stress, or simply navigating everyday life, Stoicism can provide the tools you need to live with calm, purpose, and resilience. Here are a few practical ways to incorporate Stoic principles into your routine. 1. Start your day with reflection. One of the simplest yet most powerful Stoic practices is to begin your day with a few moments of reflection. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, would often begin his day by reminding himself of his purpose and his values. He would reflect on the people he would encounter and the challenges he might face, reminding himself to approach each situation with patience and wisdom. You can do the same. Every morning, take a few minutes to reflect on what lies ahead in your day. Think about the challenges you might encounter and how you can approach them with Stoic calm. Ask yourself, what's within my control today? What is beyond my control? This simple practice helps set the tone for your day, ensuring you approach whatever comes your way with a clear, rational mindset. 2. Practice the dichotomy of control. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, the idea that we should focus only on what's within our control and let go of what isn't. In any given situation, there are always elements that we can control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, and elements that we cannot control, other people's actions, external circumstances, and the past. Throughout your day, whenever you feel stressed or overwhelmed, pause and assess what's within your control. If something is outside of your control, acknowledge it and let it go. For example, if you're dealing with a difficult coworker or a stressful situation at home, Focus on how you can respond with kindness, patience, or problem-solving, rather than trying to control the situation itself. 3. Practice. Negative visualization. Negative visualization is an important Stoic practice that involves imagining worst-case scenarios in order to prepare yourself for them mentally. While this may sound counterintuitive, it's actually a very effective way to reduce fear and anxiety about the future. Each day, spend a few minutes visualizing something that could go wrong, perhaps losing your job, facing a health issue, or experiencing a financial setback. This exercise isn't about dwelling on negativity, it's about accepting that challenges are a natural part of life. By mentally preparing for potential difficulties, you can approach them with greater resilience and less emotional turmoil when they inevitably arise. The key is to remember that Stoics aren't trying to predict or control the future. They're simply preparing themselves mentally to handle whatever comes their way without unnecessary worry. Embrace the practice of journaling. Journaling was an important Stoic practice, particularly for Marcus Aurelius. In his meditations, he would write down his thoughts, reflections, and struggles, often as a way of reinforcing Stoic teachings and staying grounded in his values. Writing helps clarify our thoughts, identify areas where we need to grow, and reflect on our reactions to situations. You can incorporate journaling into your daily routine by taking a few minutes each night to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, did I respond to challenges with calmness and wisdom? What could I have done differently? By writing about your experiences, you solidify the lessons of Stoicism and continue to improve your ability to respond to life's difficulties. 5. Cultivate gratitude. One of the most powerful aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on gratitude. The Stoics understood that, while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always choose to focus on the good in our lives. Every day, take time to acknowledge the things you are grateful for, whether it's your health, your relationships, or the simple pleasures in life. Gratitude helps us stay grounded and focused on the present, reducing the tendency to worry about things beyond our control. By cultivating an attitude of gratitude, we begin to appreciate what we have, rather than focusing on what we lack. This shift in mindset can have a profound impact on our overall well-being and happiness. 6. Embrace impermanence. Finally, it's important to remember that everything in life is temporary, both the good and the bad. Stoics constantly remind themselves of the fleeting nature of life and encourage us to embrace the impermanence of all things. This doesn't mean we should disregard the importance of our experiences or relationships, but rather that we should approach them with an understanding that they are temporary and will eventually pass. By embracing impermanence, we learn not to cling too tightly to any one moment, whether it's a joyful occasion or a difficult trial. Instead, we learn to accept life as it comes and go with the flow, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Stoicism is often praised for its ability to cultivate resilience, but it also has a profound impact on mental health and well-being. In an era where mental health challenges such as stress, anxiety, and depression are prevalent, Stoic principles offer a powerful framework for managing our inner state and improving our overall emotional and psychological well-being. At the core of Stoicism lies the understanding that we cannot always control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. This fundamental concept offers relief to many of the mental burdens we carry daily. When we feel overwhelmed, anxious, or stressed, it's often because we're trying to control things that are outside our reach, whether it's the actions of others, the future, or even past mistakes. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, our attitudes, and our actions. Let's explore the key ways in which Stoicism can positively impact our mental health. Basquin, reduction of anxiety. Through acceptance. Anxiety is often rooted in fear of the unknown or fear of losing control. We worry about future events, health, relationships, or situations that we cannot predict or influence. Stoicism helps to alleviate this anxiety by teaching us to accept uncertainty and focus on the present moment. By practicing acceptance and recognizing that we cannot control everything, we reduce the fear of the future. The Stoics remind us that anxiety arises from anticipating what might happen, not from what is actually happening. When we let go of the need to control the uncontrollable, we release the grip that anxiety has on our minds. Take, for example, the fear of public speaking. Many people experience significant anxiety before stepping in front of an audience, worrying about how they'll be perceived or whether they'll make mistakes. The Stoic approach would be to accept that you cannot control how others react or what happens during the speech. Instead, focus on preparing to the best of your ability, stay present during the moment, and embrace whatever happens without fear of judgment. 2. Emotional regulation. One of the primary goals of Stoicism is to achieve emotional regulation, the ability to manage and respond to our emotions in a calm, rational manner. Stoicism doesn't advocate suppressing emotions. Rather, it encourages us to acknowledge our emotions and choose how to respond to them. The Stoic practice of distancing ourselves from our emotions allows us to prevent emotional overreactions, which are often fueled by irrational thoughts. When we feel anger, jealousy, or frustration, the Stoic approach is to pause and ask, is this reaction serving me? What can I learn from this? For example, when dealing with anger, instead of letting the emotion drive us to impulsive actions, we take a step back and consider the root cause of the anger. Is it because of something we can change, or is it outside our control? Once we understand the emotion, we have the power to decide whether we want to hold on to it or let it go. 3. Improved resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity and continue moving forward despite challenges. Stoicism strengthens resilience by teaching us to reframe difficult situations. Instead of viewing setbacks as insurmountable obstacles, we learn to see them as opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective helps us remain grounded during times of stress or hardship. When facing personal loss, financial troubles, or work-related challenges, the Stoic response is to look at the situation objectively and ask, what can I control here? What can I learn from this experience? By embracing difficulties as part of the human experience, we reduce the emotional weight of the situation. We learn to endure with strength and purpose, knowing that challenges are temporary and that we can grow through them. 4. Greater self-awareness. Stoicism encourages us to engage in daily self-reflection, which helps increase our self-awareness. Through practices like journaling and meditation, we regularly examine our thoughts, actions, and reactions, helping us align our behavior with our values and goals. This self-awareness is key to mental well-being because it allows us to identify patterns in our behavior that may be contributing to negative emotions or stress. If we find ourselves reacting impulsively to situations or feeling overwhelmed, self-reflection helps us uncover the underlying thoughts or beliefs driving those emotions. Once we identify them, we can challenge and reframe them in a more constructive way. 5. A focus on gratitude. Gratitude is another essential Stoic practice that improves mental health. By focusing on what we have, rather than what we lack, we cultivate a mindset of appreciation. The Stoics regularly practiced gratitude as a way to shift their focus away from dissatisfaction and toward contentment with the present moment. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you are grateful for, whether it's good health, supportive relationships, or even the small joys of life. This practice not only boosts your mood, but also helps reduce feelings of stress and negativity. Gratitude, in a way, is a reminder that despite the challenges we face, there is always something to be thankful for. Stoicism isn't just about surviving life's challenges with grace. It's also about actively working toward your goals and creating the life you desire, all while maintaining inner peace and balance. Many people mistakenly think that Stoicism encourages passivity or resignation, but in reality, the Stoic approach empowers us to achieve our goals, though with a mindset rooted in wisdom, patience, and resilience. The key to applying Stoicism in the pursuit of your goals is to focus on the process, not just the end result. In a world where success is often measured by tangible outcomes, wealth, fame, recognition, Stoicism teaches us that true fulfillment comes from how we pursue our goals and the virtues we embody along the way. The Stoic approach to achievement is not about obsessing over outcomes or clinging to a particular vision of success. Instead, it's about staying true to your values and taking consistent, purposeful action, regardless of the challenges that may arise. Here's how you can apply Stoicism to help you achieve what you want in life. 1. Clarify your values and purpose. The first step in applying Stoicism to your goals is to clarify what truly matters to you. What are your core values? What is your purpose? Stoics believed that a life aligned with virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance was the only truly fulfilling life. In the pursuit of your goals, it's essential to ensure that your actions align with these values. For example, if one of your goals is to advance in your career, ask yourself, why do I want this? Is it for recognition or wealth, or is it because you believe you can make a meaningful impact through your work? By understanding your deeper motivations, you can pursue your goals with greater clarity and integrity, ensuring that your actions are in alignment with your core beliefs. 2. Focus on what you can control. As with any Stoic practice, focusing on what's within your control is crucial to achieving your goals. In the pursuit of success, there are countless factors outside of your control: other people's actions, the economy, even the timing of opportunities. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control these external factors, we can control our own actions, decisions, and attitudes. For instance, if you are striving for a promotion, you may not be able to control how your boss perceives you or the timing of the promotion. However, you can control how hard you work, how well you build relationships with your colleagues, and how you approach challenges. By focusing on the actions that are within your control, you empower yourself to move forward without being paralyzed by factors beyond your reach. 3. Embrace the process, not just the outcome. In a results-oriented world, it's easy to become fixated on achieving specific goals, getting a promotion, launching a business, or attaining financial freedom. However, the Stoic approach is to embrace the process of working toward your goal, not just the end result. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, often reflected on the importance of focusing on the present moment. He wrote in his Meditations that we should love the activity of the day, meaning that the work we do each day, regardless of the outcome, should be meaningful and satisfying in itself. By enjoying the process and dedicating ourselves fully to the task at hand, we become less fixated on the results and more focused on the quality of our efforts. 4. Detach from the outcome. While it's important to work toward your goals, Stoicism also teaches the power of detachment from the outcome. This doesn't mean that you stop caring about the result, but rather that you release your attachment to it. The Stoics believed that attachment to a particular outcome often leads to frustration, disappointment, and emotional turmoil when things don't go as planned. By practicing detachment, you allow yourself to enjoy the journey without being consumed by worry or anxiety about the result. For example, if you are working on a creative project, you might become overly attached to the idea of it being successful or receiving recognition. The Stoic approach is to focus on doing the best work you can without stressing over how others will perceive it. This sense of freedom allows you to give your best effort without the pressure of needing to achieve a particular outcome. 5. Practice perseverance and patience. In the pursuit of any goal, there will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. Stoicism teaches us to embrace perseverance and patience in the face of adversity. The path to success is rarely a straight line. There will be obstacles and delays along the way. However, the Stoic mindset encourages us to see these challenges as opportunities to grow stronger, rather than as reasons to give up. One powerful practice from Stoicism is to view failure as a teacher. When you encounter setbacks, instead of getting frustrated or discouraged, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? By reframing failure as a part of the learning process, you continue to push forward with determination, knowing that every obstacle brings you closer to your goal. 6. Accept and adapt to change. Life is full of changes, and Stoicism teaches us to accept them with grace. As you work toward your goals, things may not always go as planned. The key is to remain adaptable. The Stoic attitude is not to resist change, but to flow with it. If circumstances shift unexpectedly, look for ways to adapt rather than fight against the tide. This adaptability enables you to stay calm and focused on what's truly important, no matter what challenges arise. As we've explored throughout this video, Stoicism offers a powerful framework for living a life that is not only resilient in the face of adversity, but also deeply fulfilling. The teachings of Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus show us that our thoughts, reactions, and attitudes are within our control, even when everything around us seems out of our hands. By embracing the core Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, and practicing acceptance, we can navigate the challenges of life with calm and purpose. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, Stoicism offers us a sense of inner peace. It encourages us to stay grounded in our values, act with integrity, and pursue our goals not for external validation, but because they align with who we truly are. As we practice these principles, we find that we don't need to be at the mercy of external events or our own emotions. Instead, we can respond to life with strength, wisdom, and clarity. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Stoicism isn't about being unaffected by life's challenges. It's about choosing how we respond to them. By adopting the Stoic mindset, we can face each day with greater resilience, improved relationships, and a sense of peace that comes from within. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever applied Stoic principles in your life? How has it helped you navigate challenges or pursue your goals? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. If this video helped you gain a deeper understanding of Stoicism and its power in everyday life, don't forget to give it a like, share it with friends, and subscribe for more content on how to live a more purposeful and resilient life. And for your next step in this journey, check out this other video on how to achieve mental clarity and emotional control using simple Stoic practices. You won't want to miss it.